Hi, my name is Joe Greemore, and today we come to the end of this week where we've been studying the discipline of service. We started the week talking about holy hospitality, and now we're going to see that character personified by a person who is an outsider. It's a story that you're probably familiar with, but I invite you to hear it with new and fresh ears. This is on the theme of service exemplified, and we read in Luke's Gospel, chapter 10, verses 29 through 37. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came to where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put him on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look,' he said, 'look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have.' Which of these do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers?" The expert in the law, who had asked the question, replied, "The one who had mercy on him." It's a very insightful story and answer from Jesus about who is my neighbor, and it seems to follow on yesterday's question of when we can serve the Lord. And it's through these acts of waiting on that this man, the Samaritan, the outsider, shows that he is in line with God's will and God's good, pleasing purpose among human community. So I think it's a reminder to us that even the wrong person in the wrong place at the wrong time, this Samaritan walking down the road to Jericho, he ends up being the vessel, the means of God's grace. And so no matter who we are, where we're from, we might be strangers just meeting on the road for the first time and having the opportunity and taking it to show God's grace. We know that we can bring God deep and abiding satisfaction and pleasure. So even as we started talking about holy hospitality, the Samaritan has shown such hospitality, such gracious benevolence to his neighbor that will not go unrewarded. It's interesting, though, when we stop to sit back and think about the perspective of the Levite and the priest who were going by. They were just doing their business, going about their affairs, and they could even make the argument that they had to maintain righteousness, this kind of cleanliness according to the code of the people at that time, that if they touched a dead body and he was left for dead, they could become ceremonially unclean and therefore unfit for their duties. So they were just doing the right thing according to their line of work. But it was this Samaritan who had no auspices and just wanted to serve his neighbor and said, "Whatever it is, however I can help, not only now but into the future, here's a few denarii, take and help him if he needs further help." That was the person who went out of his way to be the messenger of God's grace. Might you be that person this week? As you think about the gift of service exemplified, may you take the many opportunities that God provides to show love, a listening ear, a kind, soft-spoken word, to soften your eyes and soften your heart and perhaps even your voice, and let the Spirit of Christ be evident in you. Have a blessed Sabbath, everyone, and we'll see you tomorrow for worship.